Welcome, welcome, welcome to a very, very rare Saturday session here at the wheel. My name's Adam. It is the 21st of September 2019. You are, of course, watching The Real Wheel. You can see me sitting behind the wheel. And without any further ado, a big welcome along to Alan. And let's get our 40-minute session on the way. A bit of an impromptu session, I've got to be honest, as we go for a spin from number 2. So no, this isn't a test. Well, it's a vague test stream. I've got a few bits to test out later on. But hopefully, we should just have a nice 40 minutes together. Where's the first result of today going to be? I can tell you, we're in number 8. So let's get 8 confirmed, and we know that 8 is black, even and low in the second column in the first dozen, and part of the TR section of the wheel. It's black, number 8. So we wait for the confirmation to disappear, and then we spin all over again. So how are you today, Alan? It's the equinox day of equal... It's the one day of the year where day and night lengths are completely equal. Well, 1 or 2 days of the year, isn't it? It's number 14 as your next result. 14, it is a red and even number in the second dozen, between 1 and 18. In the second column and part of the Orphaland section of the wheel. It's red 14. Let's move on from 14 to the next number. I'm pretty good, thanks. Got the time free, so I thought might as well have a little session of roulette. And finally, black number 22 is out. 22 for the first time in probably about 5 days. I can tell you 22 is a black and even number in the second dozen. Between 19 and 36, it's in the voisin section and the first column. Moving on from 22 to our next number. Where are we going this time? So it's currently 3 minutes past 4 here in the United Kingdom on the 21st of September. We are completely live. And from 22 we're going up one in the world to 23. 23, the Enigma number. It's a red and odd number in the second dozen between 19 and 36. It's in the TR section and it's also in the second column. A red 23. Confirmation has disappeared, so let's respin. I shall put that in the playlist for Actually, no, it is in the playlist, Flutter Fiesta. I'm not sure which song's playing at any time. In, out and in again, we're back in 22, making up for lost time now. 22, it's a black and even number in the second dozen, between 19 and 36. It's in the voisin section, it's also found in the first column. Black 22, moving on. 2 and 3 spins, not too shabby. So black 22 is now on its second appearance of the session. We're just missing 2 numbers now, 33 and 35, and this is spin number 84. Making quite good progress. You can also see my bottle of drink there. Number 6 is the next result. 6 is a black and even number in the first dozen. Between 1 and 18 in the Orphaland section of the wheel and the third column. It's black number 6 on your screens. Let's move on from black number 6 to our next result together. Aha! I did write it on a post-it note yesterday and I did the music last night, so we're going to have music Monday, and because it's a special Saturday, I guess for the alliteration there, we'll also have it on today as well. And we're in number 23. We saw it a few spins ago, and it's out again now. 23, the Enigma number. I can tell you it's a red and odd number in the second dozen, between 19 and 36. It's in the TR section of the wheel and the second column. So 23 is your latest result, but we've got to move on. Apologies, snatched at that wheel ever so slightly then. When I do roulette, I've got to move furniture around to give me the space to spin. And the sofa, I was right pushed up against it then. I'm going to try standing up for this session, I think. As we go into 11, let's get 11 confirmed on your screens. 11, I can tell you, is a black odd number in the first dozen. It's between 1 and 18 in the TS section of the wheel and the second column. Of course, it's black 11, it's on your screens, and it is in the wheel. Let's move on from black 11. You know what, I'm going to move my bottle of Coke Zero out of shot. As we go into 13, 1, 3. 13, it's a black and odd number in the second dozen between 1 and 18 in the TS section of the wheel and in the first column. It's black 13 on your screen. But it is indeed time to move on from 13 to our next number. Where are we going this time? Choice of 37, of course. And I can tell you at this juncture, black is doing better than red, as it always seems to be doing. 51.5% to 44.8%, I think that is, in red. God, my eyesight's awful. I need new glasses. 17, Sabotage is the next result, sticking with the black and odd numbers. This time again in the second dozen, between 1 and 18 once more in the Orphaland section of the wheel, and the second column. It's black 17 on your screen. And we'll move on from 17 to our next number. So, spin number 88. Two fat ladies if we're playing bingo, but this isn't bingo, this is roulette. And we have had 4 odd numbers in a row, I do believe. 3 of the last 4 in the second dozen as well. And we're going to an even number right next door to 17 with red 34. 34, it's red and even in the third dozen, between 19 and 36 in the Orphaland section of the wheel, and the first column, it's red 34, confirmed. Moving on from 34 to our next number. Where are we going this time? So I've got a different shot that I want to try out at some point. It's a bigger version of the wheel, but with fewer graphics on screen, so I'll try that in a little bit. But first, let's say hello to Black 28. Black 28 is black and even in the third dozen once more, as still a high number between 19 and 36. We're in the Voisin section, and once more we're in the first column. Black 28 is your latest number. But we've got to move on to our next number. Where are we going this time? This is spin number 91, I do believe. Hottest number at the moment is 23 on 6 spins, 13 and 11 are on 5 spins. Reverse 13 and you get 31. 31, a black and odd number in the third dozen once more. Still between 19 and 36, we're back in the Orphaland section of the wheel, and once again we're in the first column. So the last 3 numbers have all been in the third dozen and first column. I watched a bit of live roulette on Super Casino last night, and I just couldn't be bothered with it. Because for the 15 minutes or so that I watched it, it was just the wheel and no talking, and 20-second spins. Red 27's the latest result. Red 27 in the TS section of the wheel. It's a red and odd number. Still in the third dozen, still between 19 and 36, and this time we're in the third column. Red 27 confirmed. Moving on from 27 to our next number. And also, I was thinking about auto wheels after we came off air last night. I was just thinking it would be nice to have a hybrid roulette wheel. So it could be hand spun when a dealer was active, but it could also be an auto wheel when a dealer isn't around. As we go into black number 20. Black 20, it's black and even, of course, in the second dozen, between 19 and 36. It's in the Orphaland section of the wheel, and it's also in the second column. Black number 20, now on 5 spins. Moving on from black 20 to our next number. If you could hear something that sounded like a jet engine taking off there, don't worry, it was just a neighbour on his motorbike. It's a very, very loud motorbike. There's something about live roulette on Super Casino that I just don't enjoy anymore, and I think it's the lack of interaction. As we go into number 14, right next door to 20. 14, it's red and even in the second dozen once more, this time between 1 and 18, still in the Orphaland section of the wheel and still in the second column, it's red 14. Moving on from red 14. As we approach the half-hour mark, you've still got 30 minutes left with me today, and then I shall be back on Monday. So, an extra session. I felt bad for not going on air on Thursday as well. Back into black number 20. So, we've gone from 20 to 14 and back to 20. 20 next door to 14, it's a black and even number in the second dozen between 19 and 36 in the second column, and the Orphaland section of the wheel, it's black 20. Moving on from 20. Where are we going this time? I'm also trying to keep up with the football scores at the same time. And we are back in black number 20. What is going on with this wheel today? Black number 20, it's always nice to do it twice. In the second dozen, between 19 and 36, a black even a number in the second column in the Orphaland section of the wheel. 3 times in 4 spins, and the spin that wasn't in black 20 was next door to it. So black 20 on fire. I haven't actually seen any hybrid roulette wheel yet, but I'd imagine them to be probably 15-20 grand at the very least. Black 17 sticking in the Orphaland. 17, it's a black and odd number in the second dozen between 1 and 18 in the Orphaland section of the wheel, and the second column, it's black number 17. So black 17 is your latest result, but we've got to move on to our next number. It wouldn't surprise me if Kamei or Huxley did make a wheel like that in the not too distant future. It's only a matter of time because, while auto wheels are still quite new, they're only about 10 years old, so they're a bit of a novelty as we go into the big green zero. Not in any of the outside chances, columns or dozens, but it is in the Wazan section of the wheel. Let's get a bigger view of the wheel and let's see how we go with these graphics. So we're moving on from the big green zero. So as you can see now, we are going to a full shot of the wheel for a little bit, just to see how it works, see if we like this shot or not. Because this is slightly less effort in terms of getting it all set up, and you do get a bigger view of the wheel, but you don't get the hand cam. Red number 7 is the latest result. 7, it's a red and odd number in the first dozen between 1 and 18 in the Wazan section of the wheel, and it's in the first column, it's red number 7. Confirmation of 7 has disappeared from the screen, so it's time to respin. So Alan prefers the bigger wheel, in which case we'll stick with this for the next 27 minutes. Black 15. 15, it's a black and odd number in the third column between 1 and 18. It's in the second dozen and it's in the Wazan section of the wheel. It's black 15. One thing I do need to do actually is just move that result confirmation over ever so slightly. It's all about chopping and changing things, so there are times where the 2-camera setup will work really well, but there are times where this is just what we need as well. Though it does mean I've got to get... This is my cleaning cloth for the wheel. A red 27 is the latest result. A red 27 in the TR section of the wheel. I can tell you it's a red odd number in the third dozen between 19 and 36, and it's also in the third column. So red 27 is your latest result. Let's move on from red 27. And we're in black 31. Black 31, it's a black and odd number in the third dozen once more, still between 19 and 36. We're in the third, no we're not, we're in the first column, And we're in the awful hands this time, it's black 31 confirmed. Let's move on. So a nice big shot of the wheel here. I have also tried to make it so that we can always see where the ball is. So it's just framed perfectly for that. As we go into red number 3. Let's get 3 up in lights. 3, I can tell you, is a red and odd number in the first dozen between 1 and 18 in the voisin section of the wheel, and it's in the third column, red number 3. Moving on from number 3 to our next number. With this shot of the wheel, it does mean I can actually go to my preferred spinning position around the wheel as well. So I will just move the other camera off the wheel. And we go into red number 1. Red odd and low for number 1 in the first dozen in the first column and part of the awful land section of the wheel. It's red number 1 on your screens. Confirmation of 1 has disappeared, so it's time to spin from number 1. What I've tried to do is avoid what Super Casino and Live Roulette do, and just chop off big bits of the wheel. Red 18 is the next result. Red 18 is a red and even number in the second dozen between 1 and 18 in the voisin section of the wheel and the third column. So this is our third low number in a row. Let's move on from 18 to our next result. 37 different pockets, of course, and we are now well over 100 spins in. We are 106 spins in, including this one. The hottest number at the moment is number 20 on 7 spins, 23 on 6 spins, and then 13, 11, and 31, as well as 27 on 5 spins. The Huge and the Rouge has joined those 5-spin numbers, 36. It's a red and even number in the third dozen. Between 19 and 36 in the third column, and it's in the TR section of the wheel, red 36. Moving on from 36 to our next number. So, big shot of the wheel. It does mean that if I go round here, you can probably actually see me a little bit more. You can see my torso and legs anyway. Red number 1 in the first column in the first dozen, red odd and low in the awful land section of the wheel, and that is our 5th red number in a row. So 5 red numbers in a row. The red numbers are catching up a little bit now. Confirmation of red 1 on your screens, but it is time to move on. So taking a look at the stats, let's have a look at the dozens. The first dozen is lagging behind on 29%, along with the third dozen also on 29%, second dozen on 38.3%. Second dozen has got another one as well. Continuing with the run of red numbers, we've got 21. It's a red odd number in the second dozen between 19 and 36 in the voisin section of the wheel, and it's in the third column, red 21. And it's time to move on from red 21. I'm not sure what Leah's doing these days. I'd hope she's having fun with whatever she's doing. She's an absolutely lovely person. I know she does a lot of live events, so she could be doing the live event circuit. She's still doing promos for the new Live Roulette service. But whatever else she's doing, I'm not quite sure as we go into red number 12. Red number 12, it's red and even in the first dozen between 1 and 18 in the voisin section of the wheel and in the third column. Second, third column number in a row and a big bunch of red numbers in a row now. Moving on from red number 12, this is spin number 110. Your hottest numbers at the moment are 20 on 7 spins, and we've got 23 on 6 spins, 36, 13, 11, and 31 and 27 all on 5 spins. Red 18 is the next result. Let's get 18 confirmed. I'm just going to speed the wheel up a tiny bit there. A red 18, it's red and even in the second dozen, between 1 and 18, in the voisin section of the wheel and in the third column. Red 18. Moving on from red 18, now I have just spotted something with those numbers on 5 spins. 27, 13, 36 and 11 are all next door to each other on the wheel. So we've got 4 different pockets, all on 5 spins next to each other. A red 14 is the next result. Sticking with the red numbers, you can see a big bunch of red numbers on the marquee now. It's red and even in the second dozen, between 1 and 18 in the Orphaland section of the wheel, and it's in the second column. It's red 14. Moving on from red 14 to our next number. Nice slow wheel for this spin. Hopefully you get to see every single number, you get to track every single number, and hopefully your number will be the one that's spun. Red 20? No, black 20. Let's speed the wheel up just a little bit. As I tell you at 20, it's black and even in the second dozen. Between 19 and 36 in the Orphaland section of the wheel, and 20 is in the second column. Moving on from black number 20 to our next result. So 20 did break that chain of, how many red numbers was that? 3, 6, 9, 10 red numbers in a row, I do believe. Was it 9? I can't see that far. 19, I can tell you 19 is Alan's favourite number. Going down one from 20 we get 19, it's red and odd in the second dozen, between 19 and 36 in the voisin section of the wheel, and it's in the first column, it's red 19. Moving on from 19 to our next result. We're about halfway through this session now. We have 18 and a half minutes left together today. I shall be back on Monday, of course. Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday are the normal spinning days as we go into the Snowman number 8. 8 is on your screens, and I can tell you it's a black and even number in the first dozen, between 1 and 18 in the TS section of the wheel, and it's in the second column. Black number 8. Moving on from black number 8 to our next result. Number 8, by the way, is now on its third appearance of the session. Still waiting for 33 and 35, the 2 black odd numbers, and high numbers, of course, that we are yet to see. They're the only 2 numbers that haven't been out on the wheel so far, and 21 is not one of those numbers. However, I can tell you 21 is a red and odd number in the second dozen, between 19 and 36 in the voisin section of the wheel, and it's in the third column. Sorry, I got distracted by reading the chat then while trying to announce the number. This music is part of the same music library, but it was used on a show called Glitterball, which was one of those phone-in quiz shows. So it's the same people who've composed it, but it is a relatively old track, about 10 years old now at least. Red number 1 is the latest result. First column, first dozen for red number 1 in the Orphaland section of the wheel. It's red, it's odd, and it's between 1 and 18. Moving on from red number 1. Oh, I said about 10 years old. It's got to be even older than that now. At least 12, maybe not, maybe 13 years old actually. It's been that long since a phone-in quiz show has happened. I just threw it in as a little bit of variety, really. Number 2 is the next result. Let's get 2 confirmed. I can tell you 2 is a black and even number in the first dozen, between 1 and 18 in the voisin section of the wheel, and it's in the second column. Where do we think we're going to go this time? By the way, if you're wondering where I read the chat, it's just down here. 31's the next result. 31 is a black and odd number in the third dozen, between 19 and 36. It's in the Orphaland section of the wheel, and it's in the first column. It's black 31. Let's move on from black 31. Roughly 15.5 minutes left of this session, and I can tell you red is clawing back against black. It's 47.5%, plays 49.2%. Always nice to do it twice, there's nothing sweeter than a repeater. Black 31 out for the second time in a row. So Black 31, it's a black and odd number in the third dozen between 19 and 36. It's in the Orphaland section of the wheel and it's in the first column. Let's move on from Black 31. Stab in the Dark. I know that track, isn't that the title track? If it is, I'm not a big fan of it, but I'll see if I can fit it in somewhere nice. 17 Sabotage, it's a black odd number in the second dozen between 1 and 18 in the Orphaland section of the wheel, and you can find 17 in the second column. It's Black 17. With the way my graphics are set up today, I can see the number at least 5 times on my screen as it's spun, so I've got no excuse for forgetting the numbers this weekend. Spin number 121 happening, by the way, at the moment. Where are we going this time? I can tell you we're in black number 4. 4, it's a black and even number in the first dozen between 1 and 18 in the Voisin section of the wheel, and in the first column it's black number 4. Moving on from black number 4 to our next number. What do you think it's going to be this time? Still waiting for 33 and 35 to get full completion. Other cold numbers include 35 and 9. 30 on one spin, 5 on one spin, and 9 also on one spin. 19, Alan's favourite number, is the next result. A red 19, it's red and odd in the second dozen between 19 and 36. It's in the Voisin section of the wheel, and the first column it's red 19. And 19, if you're wondering, is on its 4th appearance of the session. Black 17, saw it a few spins ago and it's out again now. Black 17 is a black and odd number. Second dozen for Black 17 between 1 and 18 in the Orphaland section of the wheel, and it's in the second column as well, Black 17. Let's move on from Black 17. Black 11 is the next result. Black 11, an odd and low number. It's in the first column. No, it's not. Let's start that again. 11. It's black and odd between 1 and 18 in the first dozen in the second column, and in the TS section of the wheel, Black 11. Red number 30, 3-0. Red 30, it's red and even in the third dozen between 19 and 36. It's in the TS section of the wheel, and it's in the third column. Red 30, right next door to Black 11. Moving on from Red 30. Into Black 13, 1-3. It's black and odd in the second dozen between 1 and 18 in the TS section of the wheel, and the first column, it's Black 13. Moving on from Black 13 to our next number. Now this music that's just started playing was also used on Jackpot 24/7. But I think it was used back in 2011, so it's a really old track as well. Number 10 is the next result. 10, it's black and even in the first dozen, between 1 and 18 in the TR section of the wheel, and once more we're in the first column. So 2 TR in a row, 2 first column in a row, 2 black in a row, and 2 in the low numbers in a row. Moving on from number 10 to our next result. And just over 10 minutes left as well, so all the 10s at the moment. Red number 1 is the latest number. Red number 1, it's red and odd in the first dozen, between 1 and 18 in the Orphaland section of the wheel and the first column. It's come out quite a few times today, red number 1, and it is confirmed. Moving on from red number 1 to our next result. So I can tell you that red number 1 is another number that's out 5 times now. So 33 is next door to number 1, it's unseen. But number 1 itself is out 5 times. 16 is the other number next to 33, and that's only been out twice. 24 is the next result. Black 24, it's black and even in the second dozen. Between 19 and 36, it's in the TR section of the wheel and the third column. Black 24 on your screens. But we've got to move on from black 24. Where are we going this time? We have made no inroads at all to 33 and 35, our 2 unseen numbers. I was hoping that in this session we'd get full completion, but it's looking more and more unlikely as we go back into 17. 17, you can see there is 3 times on your marquee. I can tell you it's a black and odd number in the second dozen, between 1 and 18 in the Orphaland section of the wheel and the middle column. So black 17 is your latest result. And we're moving on from black 17 to the next number. This track, by the way, is called The Best Days, I do believe. It's one of the few tracks I actually know the name of. Black number 20, hot number. 20, it's a black and even number, second dozen, between 19 and 36 in the Orphaland section of the wheel and the second column. I do believe 20 as well was the hottest number in the month of August. No, it was the month of July, wasn't it, Doy? Yeah, the month of July, 20 was the hottest number. Getting very, very close, actually, to doing 3 months live on air. Because I think I started on the first day jackpot went off air. 18's the next result. 18, it's red and even in the second dozen, between 1 and 18 in the Wazan section of the wheel, and it's in the third column, red 18. Moving on from red 18 to the next number. Apologies, that wheel is far too quick, really. After I've confirmed the result, I will slow the wheel down, because that's a flying saucer wheel, really. But it did produce a black 22, so we can't be too whingy at it. Black 22, it's black and even in the second dozen, between 19 and 36 in the Wazan section of the wheel and the first column. It's black 22 confirmed. Moving on from black 22 to our next result. And that number is black 11, confirmed. 11, it's black and odd in the first dozen, between 1 and 18 in the TR section of the wheel and the second column. It's black 11. The one problem with standing at this part of the wheel is I get to see just how much weight I've put on since I last had this camera angle. I've put on an awful lot of weight since starting my new medication. I must have put on a good 3 stone in the last 6 months or so. Black number 20, first to 10. So black number 20 is on its 10th appearance, and I can tell you it's black and even in the second dozen between 19 and 36 in the Awful Land section of the wheel and the second column. It's black number 20. Moving on from black number 20 to the next number. Where are we going this time? Spin number 136 happening on your screens. Rocketing through these spins, and I can tell you that 20 is coming in on average 1 in every 13.6 spins. 17, second hottest number in the Awful Land section of the wheel, of course. So 17 is black and odd in the second dozen between 1 and 18 in the Awful Land section and the second column as well. 3 numbers back to back in the second column. But we've got to move on from 17 to the next number. 5 minutes left here on this Saturday. It is the 21st of September, of course. It's 4:35 p.m. I can tell you that my hometown, or the town I'm living in at the moment, is 1-0 up against their competition in the football. Red 19 is Alan's favourite number, and it's also confirmed. A red nod for number 19 in the second dozen between 19 and 36, I beg your pardon, in the Voisin section of the wheel, and the first column is red 19. Moving on from red 19. Now nobody at first guesses where I'm from with my voice. I've never had a single person guess it first time. A red number 12 is the latest result. A red 12, it's a red and even number in the first dozen between 1 and 18 in the third column, and the Voisin section of the wheel, it's red number 12. So red 12 is confirmed on your screens, and it's time to move on to our next number. 37 different pockets, of course, here on the roulette wheel, and I can tell you that we have had four numbers not in the last 100 spins. 33 and 35, nowhere to be seen at all in this session. They've not been in 138 spins. 32's not been in 102 spins, and 101 spins. Big Green Zero, not in any of the outside chances, columns or dozens, but it is in the Voisin section of the wheel. It's the Big Green Zero. Second time out in this particular session, and 4 times out in 3 times out, maybe. Or is that 5? I tell you what, let's not make up stats on the spot. I'll go over to my monitor and have a look at how many times the Big Green Zero's been out. It's been out twice since I started on air today, and it's been out 5 times in total in the last 139 spins. Big Green Zero, the Maverick, causing me to mess up my stats. And from the Big Green Zero, we're going into a number that hadn't been out in 102 spins with red number 5. 5, it's red and odd in the first dozen between 1 and 18 in the TS section of the wheel, and the second column, it's red number 5. And we're going to move on from red number 5 to our next result. Only 2 minutes left. And we're in red 32, another number that hadn't been out in over 100 spins. 104 spins since we last saw 32. I can tell you it's a red and even number in the third dozen between 19 and 36. It's in the Voisin section of the wheel, and the second column, it's red 32. Moving on from red 32 to our next result. Not that many spins left, I've got to say, not that many at all. Red number 7 is the next result. 7, it's red and odd in the first column between 1 and 18 in the first dozen, and in the Voisin section of the wheel, it's red number 7. Moving on from red number 7 to our next result. Probably got 3, 4, maybe 5 spins left. Doubtful with 5, probably this penultimate spin and then final spin. So this is your third from last spin. And we're in black 31. Black 31 confirmed. It's a black and odd number in the third dozen. It's between 19 and 36 in the first column and the Orphaland section of the wheel. It's black 31. Penultimate spin, your second to last spin happening right now. And that number is black number 2. 2, it's black, it's even, it's between 1 and 18 in the first dozen in the Voisin section of the wheel and the second column. This is the final spin for the week, so let's make it a good one. Final chance for the numbers to come in. We could get 33 or 35 and then we'd have just one unseen number. And apart from that, there's not really too much else to tell you. All the stats behaving themselves. And we're finishing with the hot number, black number 20. Confirmed. So 20, it's black, it's even, it's between 19 and 36 in the second dozen, in the second column, and in the Orphaland section of the wheel. It's black number 20. And that's it, another session over and done with. So thank you all so much for watching, especially to you, Alan, and thank you to anyone who's watching on the video on demand as well. I shall be back on Monday the 23rd at some point around about lunchtime for some more spins, but until then, have a fantastic weekend and I'll see you all next week.